Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the 3 weapons of Xathenos that can be crafted once you hit level 9 in the Soul Forge. Of course, as far as the leveling with the Soul Forge, you do want to get these by kills and not by gems, because it's much more cost efficient just to let the kills stack up over time than it is to waste your gems on it. So if you wanted to craft these, you go under weapons, and many people should be at about the point where you'd be able to craft these for the most part, even if you're not buying any of the bundles or other things. If not this week, possibly even the next week, but we recently just got all 3 of these. It's the Soul of Xathenos, the Heart of Xathenos, and the Eye of Xathenos. Some people also had the Eye of Xathenos, as this is a old event weapon from a little over a year back, so anyone lucky enough to have gotten that back then, it probably only cost you 180 glory or so. Now it costs, of course, a lot more. All 3 of these most notably do use a purple overlap. So for this, we are going to be using a sorcerer class, which is nice because all 3 of them can use it. The only problem with this is you need a lot of that purple to be able to actually get these. So you might need to use a couple of the shards or something else, or just be more patient. But today, we are going to be going over all 3 of the weapons using the sorcerer class and kind of seeing how they can pan out. So the first one I'm going to go with is the Eye of Xathenos. Some of you, of course, might be familiar with this, though it did get a buff this patch. It has pretty much always been like this, but now it deals slightly more damage, has a slightly more steel, and if I'm not mistaken, it has a 3 times instead of a 2 times, but that's currently what it does. It's mainly used as a fade counter. Unfortunately, you can't target things that are stealthy, but that is why we have Corvash. We're going to stun those wisps and hopefully one-shot them, though the only problem is I don't even think this thing one-shots it. But nonetheless, we will 2-shot the wisps, and that is the goal right now, is basically just to get those wisps down. It's about the only faith thing which is really overly used as this current moment in time, so that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to get it against one of these guys. So, as far as where we throw this thing, there looks like many horrible spots. Every single spot I'm looking at right now looks like it gives them a 5 times, so we'll just do it right there for now. Not sure if that was the best spot, but need to just get our mana up. So there we go on a full Valkyrie. It does get a wisp already. It is going to start the annoyingness apparently. So it uses purple very well, so let's get rid of those purples. I do not want it going crazy with those. We do have a target finally available. Unfortunately, it was not the one hit by the skull. Though, then again, maybe that is fortunate, because now we can take this other skull and then poke it with a Corvash. Ideally, I do want to get the instant kill. So since he's stunned right now, I think I'm going to hold off on the skull right there so we can show this weapon and what it does. So we'll take all that. He does get an extra turn into another extra turn, but he still maintains the skull distract. But now we can throw this triple against Faye. We stunned it so we can target it, and boom, 1 shot. So new wisp counter confirmed. There we go. So you can just use an Eye of Xathenos on it. You would need, of course, a stunner. Ideally a Corvash or anything, but ideally a Corvash to be able to do that. But once you do get it stunned, you can just basically one-shot it like that. Most instances will be a one-shot if you can just get just a little bit of damage. I believe initially it doesn't, but that's mainly in late game. Earlier on in the game, it may always be a one-shot. Not quite sure the values might be. But yeah, just get it stunned. You can target it then and just go like that for it. For the kill. Works out pretty nice. It's, I wouldn't say the absolute best counter for those things, but as many of you know, wisps are quite annoying, so that might be one way to kind of manage with it. Of course, a Corvash, if you were to try to manage with it on a blue-brown day, would end up working, particularly a blue day, since those have overlap. On other days, you wouldn't exactly have that opportunity to be able to stun it out within arena easily. So from here, we're just going to keep using the Eye. Unfortunately, of course, if they're not Fae, it does not have the triple damage anymore. So we'll throw that on the only option we even have, the single purple right there, and just get another poke. Hopefully, he will not kill us. There's a chance that that would happen, and we do not have enough damage right here. So this comes down to, will he get, never mind. There we go. Will we get? Never mind. Dead. So, yeah. And it does steal that 5 stats every single time. I wouldn't say that the 5 stats steal is trivial. It really depends what it hits. Of course, if it hits magic, that'd be great. If it hits something like, really almost anything that it hits would be great, other than maybe armor. Because after your first hit, there wouldn't be any armor to even steal on it. So that wouldn't really work out. So which one should we throw against this? We have the Heart of Xathenos, which of the 3 weapons is probably the most horrible that no one will ever use in any context. It's mainly just a Death Mark all Divines and a Disease all Knights. The problem with this is most Divines have Cleanse, so Death Mark won't really get to do much against it. As far as the Disease to all Knight, I can see that being decent. but very, very rarely will you see all-knight teams, and people who can actually afford this weapon, because of course it does have 100,000 soul cost. All of these weapons are quite expensive to actually obtain from a efficiency standpoint. For most people, particularly newer players, you probably wouldn't even be getting this weapon, or any of the weapons for that matter, that cost this much. And given that this is more of an early game kind of counter as far as a disease, I wouldn't really expect this weapon getting used much. The main most notable troop that I can think of is Guard's Avatar, to maybe counter out that, because Guard's Avatar is both a Divine and a Knight. And it does stack both of them, so with both Deathmark and Disease, all Guards Avatars on the enemy team, which is generally only one, because most people don't bother running more, or they just don't happen to have it. But we could do this to Disease or Yali. She is a Divine. That's like the only thing we're really going to be able to get, so let's go do that. You might be wondering why I have a Spirit Fox too. Generally, this team that you're going to be using, of course, you're going to be trying to counter out Divines, and Divines have a lot of yellow in them. So Spirit Fox can help quite a bit with that. It's also just for chipping them down, just to make sure they don't really do a lot to you. So we'll get that, get our Explosion. I guess we'll get a Spirit, and never mind, we have nothing to throw the Spirit Fox on. So we'll go get Christine next, I guess. Start getting our other ability up, and go show the new weapon. So we'll do that on green. Probably get some red drop right there, and yes, he does get Skull distracted. Ooh, Wisp. Stop it, Wisp. Do we need to go get the other weapon that we were just using back out? Don't make us have to. Okay, so we can now use this. It's basically the same nerf, even though they did it before it even got released. It's basically the same thing. Oh, I meant Deathmark, not Disease. It deathmarks it deathmarks all Divines, and Diseases and Knights fail. But yeah, what was I just mentioning? I was mentioning the... Oh yeah, this ended up getting the same nerf that the other 14 red-purple ended up getting. I think it's called Corrupted Scythe or something. It ended up hitting damage to all enemies, but it ended up getting basically half the damage off its magic. As you can see, this Heart of Xathenos is nowhere near doing our full magic worth of damage. And the fact that it's not makes it almost useless, as I mentioned. So this weapon basically you'll never need. One of the things to note about all three of these, though, which I believe I haven't actually mentioned yet, is why is it actually somewhat important to get these, is mainly because there is one troop in the game that is currently unobtainable unless you get all three of these weapons, and that is Xathenos himself. He's a new mythic that was added within the most recent patch, and the only way to obtain him is to craft all three of these weapons first. So that's basically what we're going over now, is just what these weapons are used for outside of the context of just getting him. Basically nothing is the short answer to that, but I did want to do the video covering them. But yeah, pretty much nothing is what their purpose is outside of that, except very rarely the eye, I would say. Though I do have to say, this other one that we're about to go do next is a little bit unique in what it can do. It's kind of like a Scion. It's a Soul of Xathenos. This thing deals damage to an enemy, boosted by souls collected, which, to be noted, is the worst soul ratio of any thing that has it. Currently, there is Fair Shroud, which has a 1-to-1. There is a Ward, which has a 1-to-2, and then there is this weapon, which has a 1-to-3, which obviously is the lowest of the three. So do keep that in mind. It is a very, very, very low amount of damage with that. As far as assisting it, you would generally put a Fair Shroud. If you don't have a Fair Shroud, you put things like a Dragon Soul and stuff. But let's just go do a kind of a comparison of the power of a Scion relative to this thing. So as you can see, we did put a Scion in our team. This is mainly just for comparison's sake. For most part, I don't think you would really go and block your Giant Spider. But nonetheless, we can still fill it with green, so that won't matter too much. So, obviously, both of them have a drain. Both of them have a full drain. Both of them have a drain that, when they drain, they get to take all of the mana. So, of course, whenever a Scion takes a skull, it steals all the mana and puts it into its mana pool. Similarly, this weapon does the same. It steals all their mana, and then whatever they have just gets brought to the troop. So, we'll just take our green right there, try getting a Giant Spider, and then go steal his mana. Unfortunately, of course, we would not have alignment right now. That is unfortunate. We can maybe try this on yellow and hope for a good cascade. Also, never mind, it's not even going to reach him anyways. The Dragon Soul's kind of in the way. So he'll throw that. He'll do his little thing. Let him do all of it. Not going to worry too much. We'll throw a Scion real quick just to make sure he doesn't really go crazy. And let's go get ourselves a Dragon Soul. That will definitely give us a Giant Spider that we can cast, which will, in return, give us the mana that we're going to be needing for our hero. So we'll throw that down on the yellows right there, and now we have the eye. And as I mentioned, this does steal all the mana, though, given this, I do want to wait just a little bit of time, mainly because I want to try to steal a full... There we go, that's exactly what I want to steal. No, stop. Fails were made. Well, I wanted to steal the full amount, but now we can steal this guy's full amount. So essentially what you can do... Ooh, that's so tempting, though. Stop making me not do what I want to do. Okay. So, oh gosh, a skull. I gotta take that too. Let me cast. There we go. Now we can cast. So we can go, hit that one. Boom. We steal all the mana. We get to cast it again. So that's essentially what we'd use it for. Again, boom. Steal all of it, get it back, and of course that's the boost ratio based on your souls. We were getting, I think, 10 additional damage right there. Yeah, we were hitting, wait, why were we hitting 44? That's weird. We should have been hitting 45, but we get that boost ratio off of it, and as you can see, you can kind of keep cycling it over and over again if they happen to have the full mana. If not, then you just get part of their mana. Like, of course, if we do it on him right now, we'll get 7 of the mana, not the full amount, obviously. So, let's just go in Dragon Soul, and that's match. That should be matched, because I'll chip it down enough, and you'll see we'll get 7 mana, or 11, or never mind. End your turn. There we go, 3. So you can see we'll get 3 mana for doing this, and then boom, right up to 3. So definitely kind of like a mini Scion. I could see if you don't have a fully traded Scion, that being a possible alternative as a Scion. The biggest downside to it is you would not be able to do it as spammy as a Scion. Scion can just keep doing it over and over and over again every single skull it takes, whereas this does take a 15 mana pool, which is relatively hard to get initially. I guess you can kind of get it hitting multiple times if you have a bunch of enemies with mana, but if the enemy has a high mana pool, you're most likely, or they're most likely going to be casting it soon, so you won't really be able to get the drain off as efficiently. Wish if this thing had an extra turn, would probably make it really nice. Like if it just automatically gained an extra turn, so you can just go boom right into one, boom right into the next, boom boom. That would be pretty funny. It would make it as spammy as a Scion if it did have that. But as far as an overview of these 3 weapons, they're very, very situational. Out of the 3, Soul of Xathenos is basically just an alternative Scion that isn't as effective if you happen to not have fully traded Scion. And the Eye of Xathenos' sole purpose is to counter phase, which, noteworthy in this meta, is stun a Wisp and then kill it in one shot, ideally. So those are about the only 2 things. And of course, obtaining all 3 of these weapons gets you the almighty, the thing that no one has yet because it takes forever to get those diamonds. The almighty, also you need level 10 Soulforge, the almighty Xathenos himself, which doesn't, of course, require the Eye of Xathenos, the Soul of Xathenos, the Heart of Xathenos, and many other resources. The main one everyone waiting on being the jewels, of course. But we'll cover him once he is actually obtainable. As its current moment, obviously we can't. So those are the 3 weapons. We'll be covering the other 3 weapons as well in future videos as soon as I can actually obtain them, as well as the Dawnbringer. This I'll probably be doing later this weekend, as I currently do not have the resources to buy them all. Similarly with these, just to mention it now, and I will mention it again next video, all 4 of these weapons are completely pointless to buy, but we will be buying them for the purpose of making a video and kind of showing kind of what they're used for. Of course, similarly with these 3 weapons, they're basically used for nothing, except with the noteworthy of the Dawnbringer, which is so expensive that most people probably won't even bother unless you're doing it for completionist purposes. Even with a stack as big as mine, we will barely be able to afford this. We'll be down to 60,000 souls by the time we get this thing. It eats through souls like crazy, but we will be showing that in the future. Anyways, thank you everyone so much for watching. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye.